Hi, everybody. This is Chuck once again. Welcome back to the home we've never left. So today what I want to talk about is I want to talk a little bit more about reestablishing that connection that we've always had with that deeper part of us, some methods, some techniques that we can use, some easy things that we can utilize to help us to once again establish that connection and get the information that comes from increasing that connectivity that we have there. I also want to talk a little bit more about the actions that we're taking every day, the things that we're doing, that those inner parts of us are listening to, the ego and some of those other parts of the self, that then result in then bringing forward the experiences that we have in our reality, utilizing energy, consciousness, whichever way you'd like to see it, to bring about the experiences that we have in our life then. And one more thing I'll probably touch on a little bit too is the nature of how you see yourself and the advantages or disadvantages that can be had in your life as a result of that. Okay. So we've talked a little bit before about reestablishing that connection. We've said that one of the things that we can do is just have a desire to reestablish that connection. Um, we've talked about dream time as the environment, I guess I'll call it right now, that the self, the you of you, expresses itself in. That's kind of the environment that when you're taking action as a self, that's the environment that it's happening in, is dream time. I know that for the large part, we have some fairly narrow and constrained ideas of dream time. And of course, as we move forward, I'll discuss a lot of ideas about dream time, and you can get some different concepts about how really large and versatile dream time is as far as how you as the self express yourself. Okay. So what I want to talk about today is our ability to use the natural world, to use nature to help us in that connection that we have with that deeper part of us. So I talked a little bit, I think it was in the last video, about the symbolic and allegorical nature of how that deeper part of us communicates with this part of us. Of course, from our perspective here, we have some particular ideas about who it is that we are and how our reality comes about. Um, we think about day and night, temperature, there's language, there's feeling, there's emotion. If we go inside a little bit, there's our imaginative state, the way that we think about things. There's a whole variety of characteristics to our experience that we're kind of used to. The inner part of us, of course, realizes that totally, and so then utilizes the things in our environment, all those different aspects of what our perception is, to communicate information for us and to us. And it even does this if we're not on a journey like this. We just miss it many times, or we mistake it for something else sometimes. So nature is one of those things. Nature, symbolically, is kind of symbolic to kind of like those deeper tones of the self. Um, when you go out into nature, what most people experience, I think pretty much everybody experiences this. Sometimes if you're with other individuals, you may not really sense this a whole lot, but certainly if you're by yourself and you're out for an hour, hour and a half, what you'll notice is that there's calmness, a sense of peace that begins to become part of how you're feeling. The hurried pace that you may have had before you went into nature, any anxiety, any worried state, things of that nature, tend to move a little bit more into the background. And that's really because when you go into nature, what's happening, of course, is that symbolically, what the self is showing you is that you are allowing yourself in that movement and in that moment to move a little deeper into who it is that you are. And nature is a representation of that movement into those deeper parts of yourself. So it doesn't have to be the woods. It can be a park. It can be a stream. It can be a small pond. So it can even be an arboretum. if you have an arboretum, or any kind of maybe a large internal greenhouse that maybe is part of some sort of an establishment that's close to you. Sometimes zoos will have this. Um, Now, like we talked about before, being by yourself when you're doing these types of things is, especially in the early stages, kind of optimal. So if you're going to these places, if you can pick times, let's say you live in a town that's got a lot of people, but there are some parks around and maybe there's a small creek or a stream, or maybe your zoo has got some sort of an arboretum or something like that. Try to choose the hours that it is less populated. So that might be early in the morning, it might be late at night, whatever. Um, you might even, if you need to, go with a friend if it's an early hour so that it feels like you're comfortable when you get there. And as you're going there, let's say if you've got to walk or something like that, and they can either join you there or maybe they can do something else. Maybe that they can have breakfast while you do this, or they can see a movie while you're doing it. Who knows? You can try to figure out what kind of things that you can do in that regard. But just try to get it where it's not loaded with people. If you live in a little bit more rural area, that may not be a problem whatsoever. You may be able to go out to a creek or a stream or a river, a lakeside, something like that, and find yourself all alone. Beach works great. Anything out in nature is nice. You don't necessarily need other animals there. It really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. And really, all you're looking to do is really just to be there, to take a nice walk, maybe sit on a bench. It really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. You really don't want to go with your earpods in, your headphones on, things of that nature, because what you want to do is you want to just experience the environment itself. So you don't want to bring another environment into it except for you. So you just kind of want to be there. If you go with another individual, it would be advantageous if that other individual was exploring things similar to this as well. Because then they're going to have an idea about why it is you're going there, and they can utilize that for themselves as well. Now, when you're there, if you're going to go with somebody else, certainly you can have some conversation. And at first, that may just be the way that it's going to start. Try, however, to steer away from conversation about especially challenging things that are going on in life or other things in life that are about focusing on, let's say, world events or anything that will bring you to a place where you might bring up anxiety or worry or things of that nature. You can talk about other places in the world that are beautiful. You can talk about mountains if you want to, forests someplace, animals in various places. You can talk about exploring physical and metaphysical types of things. There's a whole variety of things that you can discuss that will keep you in a place where you can utilize the environment to help to bring that mood kind of out in you. Okay. Um, Optimally, of course, what's nice is to be able to, at least eventually, to go in by yourself, to do it alone. And again, if you do this, let's say you have a park someplace and you've got some trails. What it's not about, it's about, okay, I'm going to start here and I'm going to go around this trail and get back and I want to do it in this much time. You don't really want to do it like that. What you want to do is you just want to go in and you want to walk at a nice, easy pace. And for some of you, you may have to practice this. What you're really looking at is to slow yourself down. Okay, slow down and just look around. Look around at the bushes, at the trees, at the flowers, at the grass, at whatever's there, the sky. Pay attention to the sound of the wind if there's any that's moving through the trees. Smell whatever smells might be there. Listen to whatever sounds may be made. And just keep walking. Just walk slow. Pause whenever you want to pause. Just make it a nice, easy exploration of that kind of an environment. All right. Now, if you can, make it an hour, make it a couple hours, several hours if you have the opportunity. I found that usually I needed around a half an hour when I first started to do this many years ago in order for me to actually feel this calming sensations start to come into who I was, and the feeling that I would normally carry in my day to start to fade into the background. So you want to spend at least a little time there. Now, just like the other stuff that we talked about, being able to do it relatively frequently is advantageous. So just like anything else, certainly if you can do it 7 times a week, you're going to feel that experience easier each time you come into the natural place, wherever it is, quicker than if you can only do it once or twice a week. Okay. But once or twice a week is certainly better than not at all. Okay. So don't be discouraged because you can't do it 4, 5, 6, 7 times a week. Do it as many times as you can. If it's once a week, you're having the experience, it's making an impact. Okay. And it's going to make more of an impact than you think it is from what you're experiencing when you go in. Because again, the deeper part of you knows you're doing this for a particular reason. Okay. So it's going to start to do things that you're going to pay attention to a little bit more in dream time that may start to filter through that will be in collaboration with what you're doing in nature also. Okay. There's many facets, there's many movements, a lot of actions that are going on with any one thing that you do in this kind of a journey. It's not just that particular thing having a particular type of an impact on you. It will spread out into a whole variety of connections. One of the things that we'll probably discuss just a little bit today is the concept of association. So it's really, there's so much association that goes on with the way that that deeper parts of you does all the things that it does. Okay. So nature, in any way that you can find it, um, go out, spend some time there, do it in a non-hurried pace. Again, you don't want to bring music and things like that with you. You just want to have that experience, and allow the experience to be whatever it is. And of course, if you can pick nice days in the spring, summer, fall, that's nice. Of course, where I'm at, we have winter as well. I enjoy being outdoors in any season. It really doesn't make any difference. And if I've got the right clothing, it doesn't matter if it's raining or if it's fairly brisk. Um, you can still go out and have that experience. So clothing is part of it. Try to get some sort of clothing. It doesn't have to be super expensive stuff. All you have to do is just something that can make you comfortable. Certainly, what you will experience is that, let's say you have a park, just a block by a block park that's relatively close to your home. If it's raining out, you're probably not going to find anybody else in that park. So if you can have just an inexpensive pair of rain boots, a rain jacket, and maybe some rain pants, or maybe the rain jacket might be enough with the boots, you can certainly go out, be in the park by yourself, and you're going to know that there's not going to be anybody else there because, of course, it's raining out. Not too many people are going to be there. You're going to do it purposely, of course. So nature then is another very potent way of reestablishing that connection that you have with that inner part of yourself. Okay, so nature is really important in that way. Dream time is really potent in that way, right? They'll really do a lot more than what you may think they'll be able to do. And of course, like anything else that is going to be part of this journey, is it is going to be part of the journey. As you do it, just like anything else, you'll feel effects greater and greater and greater. But again, sometimes you can have those effects in a relatively short period of time. Okay. So then let's talk a little bit more about the things that you're doing on an everyday basis, the things that we're doing that those inner parts of us, particularly the ego, are paying attention to, and then bringing our experience of life to us, right? So we talked about a couple of things. We talked about the importance of beliefs as really being the foundation of how all the other things that will color our experience kind of flow through the beliefs that we're holding. And of course, the beliefs that are out there are really unlimited. There's an infinite number of beliefs that we can utilize. And the beliefs that we have are going to filter our perceptions of what it is that we're interacting with. They are going to dictate the kind of emotions that are created, the feeling state that's created, the way that our imagination begins to work, the way that we think about things. All the other things that are part of our perception, I guess I'll call it, really have their key in what beliefs we're filtering our experience through. Okay, and it's happening all the time. You're always utilizing beliefs. Um, so we talked a little bit about how beliefs are really there to be changed. All right, and really you change beliefs in your life all the time. It's not a difficult thing to do. And so if you think about how you do this and you see that you've done it in the past, you can see really how easy it is. So when you were really young, maybe 4 or 5 years of age or something like that, for most individuals, especially if you lived in a city, one of the things that your parents taught you is you had to be careful with streets and the cars that were in the streets. So you couldn't cross the street by yourself because there were these things called cars in the streets that would do damage to you, maybe kill you, right? If you went onto the street. So you weren't allowed to go into the street, okay, unless you were with an adult, right? And then maybe as things progressed and you got a little bit older, you were able to cross the street only if you crossed where there was a street light, all right? Maybe when you were 12 or something like that, 13 years of age, your parents had taught you about red, yellow, and green lights, and you could cross when it was green if you looked both ways, right? Those types of things, right? So there was this belief that you had about the danger of crossing the street. Little by little, that belief changes and you let go of it until now, of course, as an adult, whether you're in your late teens, your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, doesn't make any difference. You certainly no longer believe, well, of course, if you're very old now and your body's not functioning very well, you may again be wary about crossing a street. But as long as your body is functioning fine, you no longer believe that it's dangerous to cross the street or that you shouldn't cross the street. Okay, it's a belief that you had when you were younger that you then let go of as you grew. All right, so it's something, it's a natural process that you do. You're influenced little by little by other things in your life that then help you to leave the once established belief behind you. Let's take riding a bike, all right? When you first began to ride a bike, here was the bike in front of you with your mother, your father, your older brother, sister, whoever was going to help you with that. And the belief was, I can't ride the bike, right? I don't know how to ride the bike, right? So they sit you on the bike. Maybe it's got training wheels. Maybe it didn't. And they were holding you, whatever. They push you. You start to pedal. Okay. You become familiar with the movements of riding the bike and what that's like. And then after a while, they let go of you and it's just you and the training wheels. Or they let go of you for a couple of moments and you're balancing on your own. Okay. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, I'm riding the bike, right? And so as you go through that process, you move from a place again that there's this belief that I can't ride the bike to now you're riding the bike. And now the belief is I can ride a bike. Okay. That happens with everything, playing checkers, playing Monopoly, doing math. It really doesn't make any difference what it is. You move from a place where you have one belief. There are a particular number of actions, frequently with individuals to influence you with information and help you with those actions that then brings you to a different belief. Okay. You've been doing it your whole life. It's not a difficult thing to do. Okay. What it takes, of course, is first of all, the desire to want to change the belief. When someone teaches you to ride a bike, most of the time you have the desire to ride a bike. Yeah, I want to learn how to ride a bike, or I want to learn how to play checkers. When you're in school, you may not want to learn in a fun way necessarily how to do math. Maybe you do, but there's this concept that math may be helpful for what I want to do later in life. And so from that perspective, you have some desire to want to do it, okay? So usually there's a desire to want to learn something, a new belief, right? And then there's people around that can help you, right? So the pattern, the way it's done is really the same. Some beliefs are really strong. Some beliefs take a little bit more practice to leave behind, right? But again, they are just like a shirt and a pair of pants, right? You can go to your closet, you can choose the shirt and the pair of pants that you want to wear that day. Maybe halfway through the day, you change your mind. You go back home, you put a different shirt, different pair of pants on, okay? Beliefs are the same way. There's a certain number of beliefs that you're utilizing kind of in a default way throughout your life. And then there are others that you utilize back and forth. There are some that are foundational to the reality that we're in. And you may not even think that these are beliefs, like night and day is really a belief. And why do I say it's a belief? Because, um, again, we're talking about the self expressing itself in an infinite number of ways, this being one of them. Okay, and so in this type of expression, we have these phenomenon of night and day, right? That occurs because the way that the storyline goes anyway is that our planet is tilted on a particular axis. It circles this other planet called the sun, a star, if you will. And because of the way that it changes its orientation to that star as it revolves, we have night and day. Okay, so there's this idea that we came up with that then results in an experience that we have. The idea is associated with beliefs, right? So beliefs are important. Um, so you can change beliefs, and you've done it all through your life. This is something that's important to know because when it comes to things that are kind of limiting to you, that don't allow you to express yourself really in the way that you would like to express yourself, what we're talking about, of course, is changing the beliefs that lend then to that being your experience. And of course, you can make those changes. Um, One of the things that's going to be helpful is the information that you hear from me, the concepts, the ideas, the techniques, the practices that we'll do that'll help with that. Other things are going to be that if you're doing this, I'm more than likely not the only thing that you're doing. I'm not the only source of information like this that you have at your disposal. You are exposing yourself to other things. Those things will help also. Why? Because you're broadening your perspective of your life, of your reality, to include more of this type of information. You'll probably start to find yourself in conversation with other individuals that are having the same kind of exploration or have been exploring this for a long period of time. All of that influence will then help to move you beyond the belief that you have, right? Now, not only that, but again, the most potent tool in all of this exploration that you're going to do, this whole journey, is the inner you, right? Because that part of you already understands that it is totally free to express itself and to create in any way that it wants to. And it's doing that in you, right? So when you want to change beliefs, one of the most potent things that you can do is go to that part of yourself for help in doing that. And that part of you will bring you situations, circumstances, ideas, feelings, whatever it might happen to be, that will help you in that endeavor to change whatever belief it is that you want to change. Okay. And you can do this from a lot of different angles. You can utilize keeping yourself focused in a particular feeling state to help to change this, like appreciation is a feeling that is really helpful to have. And looking at things around you that you're appreciative of. You can start with a lot of things. Many times when you're changing beliefs about you, it can be really, really nice to start to appreciate all the various things that are to appreciate about yourself, right? So one of the things that makes that easy is to utilize whatever you can. You can utilize nature, you can utilize pictures, you can utilize the internet, which is a nice tool, and bring up as many beautiful things that you can, things that look beautiful, things that sound beautiful. You can go out and buy food that tastes really good. Um, it really doesn't make any difference what the experience is. And then be appreciative of yourself because you've brought that experience to you. All right. And in fact, not only have you brought that experience to you, but again, from our perspective here, the deeper you is the one that's creating that experience for you. So you're creating this incredible experience for yourself. All right. So this then kind of leads a little bit into something I'll talk about a little bit too, in that if you allow somebody else to influence you, really, you have to understand that that's what you're doing. Okay. because it's the deeper you that brings your experience to you. Nobody else brings your experience to you. If you have experiences that are challenging, especially when you're in somebody else's company or when you're paying attention to what they say or what they do or whatever, it doesn't really make any difference what it is. It's because you've chosen to allow them to have the influence that they're having. So because you're making the choice, you're agreeing to it, those parts of the deeper you, particularly the ego, are paying attention to that. And again, they're bringing your experience about in line with what it is, the choices that you're making, okay, what you're agreeing to, all right? This is always the way that it goes. You're the one with the power in your life, all right? It's your choices that then show up in your life. You really need to understand that. Um, if you just take the opportunity to observe yourself and other individuals, pay attention to the situations that you've been in, to what it is you believed about the situation, to what it is you believed about the people in that situation at that particular time, to what it is you believed your choices were at that moment, you'll see that the experience that you had fell in line with all of that. Okay, and you may have to do a little bit of exploring. Pick whatever occurrences that you have in your life and explore them in that way, and you'll see that what I'm telling you is accurate. Okay, that all of that stuff, that foundational stuff, the way you believed about the situation, the feelings you had about the situation, the things you believed about yourself, the feelings you had about yourself, the choices you thought you did or did not have, all of that stuff then resulted in a particular experience. Okay, that is always going to hold true. It's always going to hold true. Okay. So then as you start to change the way that you feel about yourself, as you start to change and understand the idea of your choices and how powerful your choices are, then you'll start to make different choices a little at a time. And you'll start to see different things happening in your world, different things happening in your environment. It's not that you are, quote unquote, controlling other individuals. What's happening is that, again, we're talking about an infinite us, all right? And so an infinite us doesn't only express itself one way, this us, it expresses itself in many ways, many us's, many versions of us, all right? All of these us's having a little bit different experience, sometimes dramatically different experiences, all right? So that means that other individuals that are out there have a similar situation going on. In other words, there's not just one version of that individual out there. There's many versions of that individual out there. Okay. So then when you change the way that you see things, what's going to happen is that you're not going to interact with the same version of the other individual that was out there. You're now going to interact with a little bit different version of that individual that's out there. All right. So it's not you controlling other individuals. It's you choosing which of the other individuals that are out there to interact with you're actually going to interact with. And I know if you've never explored this kind of stuff before, some of the stuff that I'm talking about, that particular idea just now in particular, is going to seem a little bit strange. It's going to be, really? How does that happen? But really, whether you want to explore spiritual metaphysical ideas in a really deep way or quantum physics in a really deep way, they both really say the same thing. There's not just one stream of activity that's going on. There's an infinite number of streams of activity that are going on, and you get to choose which one of those streams you want to be in. Okay. And so what I want you to understand through what we're going to do here is there is a means by which you do that. All right. And being mindful of the beliefs that you're using, the emotions that are happening at the time, the feeling tone you have going on, the way that your imagination is working, the thoughts that are moving through your mind at any particular time, these types of things and some other things are the things that then are what steers you through the various permutations, I guess I'll say, of what kind of experience that you're going to have. All right. But again, it's all up to you. All right. So we're going to kind of end here. I didn't want to make this one too long. All right. So again, nature and your ability to choose and beliefs and how associated and how strong beliefs are as part of everything. So what you can do is you can just start to pay attention to what it is you believe about all the various things that go on in your life. And this is even the mundane things in your life. There's a belief that's associated with pretty much, not pretty much, everything that you do. There's a belief associated with everything that you do and why you do it a particular way. Okay. Now, this is not the same as saying that belief is wrong or right. Really, what we're going to talk about more a little later is that really beliefs are totally neutral. You choose them and utilize them, and they have an effect. Now, the effect may not feel so good. That doesn't mean that the belief is bad. Okay, or you can have a fantastic effect. That doesn't necessarily mean the belief is good. You enjoy the effect. The belief is neutral. The belief is a filter. It's there to be used, which you'll come to understand in any way that you want to. All right. So again, find yourself in nature. Try to get there as much as you possibly can. Try to do it at times where there's not a lot of people there. Do it in an unhurried way. Um, Make sure that you're not going to be hungry there. Make sure you're not going to be thirsty there. If you need to bring a little snack, you need to bring a little bottle of something to drink with you, so that those types of things don't pull you away from just enjoying the experience. Go ahead and do that, of course. Make sure you're dressed for the experience that you're going to have. You don't want to be too warm or too cold. Try to make it a pleasant experience for yourself. If you do pick a time when it's raining, so you know you're going to be alone, of course it will probably be a little bit cool depending on the season, but try to have the right garments, and so you can be out there, have the experience, and not be soaking wet when you have it, so you can enjoy the experience to some degree. And again, you can do things that are indoors. If there's greenhouses that are around, if there are arboretums around, whatever it might happen to be, you can use those things too. All right. So again, of course, with the next video, we'll continue with our exploration of our journey with connecting with ourselves, and all the things that it'll do for all parts of our life, actually. Okay. So once again, thanks a lot for stopping by. We'll see you guys next time around, and have a fantastic day. Take care. Bye.